This is Brian with KOKUA Bikes USA. We're here today to build the LiketoBIKE 20. We're going to take a look inside. Alright, so we've got the rack, fenders, seat. Pull it out. Got the box. Inside the box we have the pedals, the reflectors, the bolt that holds the reflector on the front. The pedals have an R and an L. That stands for left and right. We'll get to that later. So as we unpack this front wheel, you're going to have to slide it out from the crank. Do not pull up, you will bend the spokes. We have to pop off the packaging caps, but you want to make sure that those plastic end caps that you see remain there. Very important that we keep those. Those are the end caps. Start with the seat. Comes with the trusty tool. Alright, so we stand the bike up, get the handlebars on there. We have to turn the forks around and unpackage the head there. So there's a slot that runs vertical there, so the handlebars can go on as they are or at a 90-degree angle. Checking to make sure that I've got the handlebars on correctly. The right brake should be the rear. So the head slides up and down. You can mount it at the top, the bottom, or somewhere in between. And that's with the back machine screw. You see I'm tightening it there. And then I move towards the front, which will adjust the tilt angle. So I loosen it up, roll it forward, and then tighten it back again. And I'm just getting approximate. I'm not putting everything to finish tightness here. So on the front there are 4 small machine screws that you need to loosen up to roll the handlebars forward to get the approximate angle for the brake placement. And then retighten with a star pattern. And again, I'm going to check all the secure tightness at the end. Once I go to fit the bike to the child. Squeeze together.
Now we want to release the front brake by squeezing it together, and it pops up, pops out. Now on the tire we're going to look for the rotation and point the rotation forward. Unscrew the end of the skewer, and you notice the spring there by my thumb. There's 2 springs, one for each side of the wheel. So I pull one off, and then I insert the skewer, pops out the other end, slide the spring on the small end towards the center, and give the nut just a couple turns. Again, we're going to check the rotation, make sure we're pointed in the correct direction, and go ahead and put that over the forks. Now it might be easier to work on your bike upside down, so I'm going to show I just flipped it over. And then to tighten the front skewer, it's quick release, so you're turning in opposite directions, and the quick release lever is pointed straight out from the tire. And then I'm slowly wiggling as I'm tightening. You never want to over tighten it, but you want to make sure that it's locked on there. I check it again. Let's take a look at the left and right pedal, the L and the R. If the bike is upside down, the side with the chain is the right side, the opposite side is the left, and you see there I'm turning to the left. As I'm tightening to the left. Usually it's righty-tighty, but on the left side, the left crank, the left pedal turns left to tighten. And on the right side we have regular threads turning to the right. So we go ahead and you want to go slow as you're starting so you don't strip out the threads that are in.
So just spin it as far as you can with your hands. At a certain point it'll stop and it'll just roll. Grab your wrench and get it nice and snug there. Now I'm going to turn the bike back over, put down the kickstand so that it's sitting up, and reattach the front brake. Reversing what we did before, we squeeze it together and reattach. Check it. Now we're going to go back through the bike and check all the connections. We're going to check the pedals, we're going to check the head again, and we need to tighten the top cap. That's what pulls the forks up into the head. Everything again up there in the head, all those connections. And let's put the front reflector on. There's a through bolt with the nut, and use a screwdriver to adjust the tilt angle. Same thing at the rear, you use a screwdriver to adjust the tilt angle and remove the seat post from the body of the bike. And so you're all done after you check your connections, unless you bought the fenders. Did you buy the fenders kit? So you bought the fender kit, slide that on. There's a metal clip mounted to the front fender. We slide the bolt through with the front reflector. Once we get that slightly connected, just finger tight, we'll use a wrench to tighten that, but we want to make sure we pull the fender up as high as we can so there's a lot of clearance between the tire and the fender. Get it finger tight, and then use the Allen wrench and a smaller box wrench or adjustable wrench. So you can see my hands will be turning in opposite directions, left and right hands turning in opposite directions to tighten. Get that all tightened up. So now we want to put on the front stays. Grabbing the two that have the plastic on the end, insert into the part up against the fender and tighten it up with the Allen wrench. Then we use the two longer machine screws and washers for the front forks. Don't forget the little washers. So we do the same on the other side. Alright, unpackage the rear fender. Again, there will be a metal clip. The rear fender is the longer one. It also has two connection points for the stays. So we put the metal clip there on top, use the longer bolt and washers and nut, put a washer on either side, and use a wrench underneath. Three-way hex tool, and get that tightened up, keeping the fender as far off the tire as you can so you have space. Now we'll put the rear stays on. You can do it in a number of different ways. You can attach to the frame first. I like to put them in the slot, get them tightened down up against the fender first, and then I will work to attach using the shorter machine screws and washers at the rear. Now if you're not going to put the rear rack, it doesn't matter which of the two holes that you use. If you intend to attach a rack, I would not make this connection. I would attach the rack first and attach this connection last. Check all your connections and you're done, unless you ordered the rack as well. So to start with the rack, I start right behind the seat post. There are two machine screws that should be there already. I go ahead and take those out. Now I can attach the front part of the rack. This is Brian Canavari with KOKUA Bikes USA signing off. Thank you for joining us, and please reach out if you should have any questions. Aloha.